let it go. I don't care if you have to meditate, journal it out, spin cartwheels on your front lawn naked to release it, but let it go. Holding a grudge is like drinking poison and expecting it to make someone else sick. The only one it's really damaging is you. All right, show of hands. Just kidding. I know we can't see each other's hands. Do you sometimes or often get to the end of your day with a soggy brain and just feeling like a wet dish rag? Not just exhausted, but depleted, drained, and just wrung out. You don't feel like you did anything specifically exhausting. Average day, no marathons, no mountain climbing. You probably even spent a few minutes, quote unquote, relaxing while you scrolled social media, used some time-saving conveniences. But your energy isn't just low, the gas tank is empty, and you're running on fumes. Like there's a slow leak somewhere. Spoiler alert, there is. Today, I want to talk about energy leaks, the things in your life that drain your mental, emotional, and even physical energy like a puncture in a tire. Why some people and situations leave us completely drained, why your brain acts the way it does, and what you can do to start putting a patch on some of those leaks. And yes, as always, I will leave you with some tangible tools and strategies you can start using today to take back your power and your energy. You know how life throws us curveballs? I believe in the incredible human capacity to heal and grow from life's challenges. We all face adversity in life, whether it's dealing with loss, overcoming personal challenge, or navigating mental wellness. Nobody gets through this journey of life without a few storms. Welcome to Transformative Journeys. I'm your host, Johanna LaRue, and through various challenges on my journey, including the devastating loss of my son in a workplace tragedy in 2006, I have navigated a messy path towards healing and rebuilding. It's been a journey of self-discovery that has taught me invaluable lessons about coping, healing, and transforming my experiences into tools for personal growth. Each week, I'll share my thoughts and insights and dig into strategies that can empower you to rediscover yourself, learn about transforming pain into power, building confidence to navigate life's challenges, and cultivating a life of meaning and joy. Join me on this journey of exploration and transformation. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button on your favorite platform and tap the bell icon to be notified when new episodes drop. Welcome back to Transformative Journeys with Johanna. And me, I'm Johanna. And if you've ever ended your day feeling emotionally, mentally, and physically drained but can't figure out why, today's episode is for you. First, let's talk about modern exhaustion. We live in a world with more time and work-saving conveniences than ever before. Our coffee brews before our alarm goes off. We can pull a mostly nutritious meal out of the freezer or fridge, toss together a prepackaged salad for on the side, and dinner's on the table in 15 minutes or less. We can order our groceries online. We can even have a virtual consultation with our doctor or therapist. And in spite of that, many of us are walking around more exhausted, more emotionally drained, and more burnt out than ever. There's a lot of reasons. Some of them fairly simple, some of them a little more complex, and much of it backed by science. Myra Kirschenbaum, who's the author of the book the emotional energy factor, says that 70% of our total energy is emotional. Most of us don't give much thought to where our energy goes through the day. We might notice the big things, like when we're planning a wedding, when there's an illness in the family, or you've had a big argument with someone. But let's face it, a lot of our day-to-day, we just sort of run on autopilot, doing what needs to be done without giving it much thought. Work, commuting, looking after the kids or helping aging parents, running errands, making meals, the list goes on. Not really thinking about whether they deplete our energy because they just have to be done, and not paying a whole lot of attention to the micro moments inside of them that can be creating an additional drain on our energy. In other words, it's not just what we do in a day that can impact us. It's the people who cross our boundaries, the friend who trauma dumps on you, the coworker who has just one more quick request 5 minutes before the end of your workday, the constant advertisements and negative stories during our social media doom scroll at 10 p.m., and that most of us are overstimulated and surrounded by almost constant artificial noise. These are all energy leaks. The things, including the little micro moments during the day that consume more of our energy than they give back. They're the every friggin' day real deal shit that we cope with all the time. They build a foundation of mental or emotional overload that can lead to chronic stress. And we've talked about this before, my friends. Chronic stress plays havoc with our brains and our bodies. Research shows that chronic mental and emotional stress depletes our dopamine and serotonin levels, and that can affect our ability to focus, regulate our emotions, make decisions. And by the way, stick around because this isn't the doom and gloom episode. We won't be just talking about how to help you plug the leaks today. We're also going to be talking in a few minutes about the things we can do to feed or replenish our energy too. So let's talk a bit about the more hard to pinpoint things that can drain us, that often happen inside of a boring, old, everyday routine day, doing stuff we just take for granted as part of our day-to-day lives. Some common leaks that might not seem like a big deal at the time, but they add up at the end of the day. So let's start with the big one, social media. But it's relaxing to lean back on the sofa at the end of the day with your phone in your hand, open up your favorite social media app and spend half an hour just mindlessly scrolling to see what's going on with your friends, the people you follow, the news of the day, right? Well, let me just share something with you. I just conducted a little impromptu research project. I just opened my Facebook page and I specifically scrolled to see how many posts I had to scroll through to get to a post from one of my actual friends. Get this. 15 to get to someone I sort of, quote, unquote, know. 29 to get to one from someone I consider a kind of close acquaintance. 41 to get to something an actual friend posted. So out of 42 posts, I got 3 hits of actual good dopamine from seeing a real person I know doing or posting something awesome. Almost 1/4 were advertisements, often pointing out things that, of course, I need to do to improve my appearance or some other part of me. And against those 3 good dopamine hits I got 5 that were scientifically known to increase cortisol and deplete dopamine and serotonin. Most of the time, when we look at social media, we're being depleted. Occasionally, I hit something actually educational, but incidentally, even those are not always positive because a lot of the history stuff that comes up on my scrolls tends to have content about misogyny, the Holocaust, the impacts of racism, but it's mostly totally irrelevant information about something that does nothing to nourish my mind. I mean, really, think about it. How many still shot memes of Schitt's Creek do I really need to see in a day? And the news or the political stuff, it doesn't matter what side of the political fence you're sitting on, you'll get bombarded by what the other side is doing wrong and how they're making the world a terrible place. That's just Facebook. Let's hop over to Instagram for a second, and it's a slightly different shit show. Maybe no news stories and fewer political posts, but lots of great curated stuff you can use to compare everything you feel you're lacking in your life against. Think about it. How often do you really feel good after scrolling social media? Next, let's move into unclear or violated boundaries. I talked about boundaries last week, what boundaries are, why they're so bloody hard to set, especially if you're a recovering people pleaser like me, and how to start protecting our peace without feeling like we're being an asshole. But here's the Coles Notes version and why they're an energy leak. When we're saying yes when our gut tells us to say no, and then over-explaining ourselves because we feel guilty about it, when we continue to participate or even remain present during a gossip session about someone else that leaves us feeling uncomfortable or, like a bad person, when we're spoken to in a disrespectful way, especially if we don't feel we're in a position to call the other person out on that behavior, when someone comes too close into our personal space, making us uncomfortable, or when we take responsibility for another person's emotions, you can feel it mentally, emotionally, and even physically. Your thoughts race, you feel anxious or irritable, your heart might feel like it's racing, or your face starts to feel hot. Your brain is actually triggering your fight, flight, or freeze response, which can cause adrenaline and cortisol to increase and dopamine and serotonin to decrease. Whenever this happens, we're depleting our energy. Next up on the leak parade, your favorite people, relatives. Buckle up. We love them. Okay, we love most of them. But family can really be frustrating. They can be exhausting, and they can definitely be draining. Whether it's kids who need our constant attention or help, a parent who can't seem to keep themselves from commenting on our weight, our lifestyle, or our partner, or the sister who almost every conversation revolves around either their many and varied woes or trying to compare how much better their life is to yours. These all take away from our emotional bandwidth, and often they do not contribute much in a positive way. Kids, okay, I'll give you that mostly our kids do give us back at least as much as we give, at least until they're teenagers, but that's another conversation. But we do have the choice about whether we're going to give them all of the love, care, and physical things they need without being the helicopter parent who is constantly at their beck and call for things they're old enough to do for themselves or can wait for, or who's frequently checking in to see if they want a drink or a snack or want to go to the park when they're already quietly minding their own business contentedly. If family interactions often leave you feeling defensive or drained, that's an energy leak red flag. Dealing with family comes down to boundaries again and taking control of our part in those relationships, because let's face it, that's the only part of the relationship we do have control over. But the key here is that we do. Our behavior and our conditioning around our relationships with family is deeply rooted not only in childhood conditioning and our fear of rejection, but as part of our anthropological social survival strategies. Even people who we don't see as people pleasers outside of their family often are within their own families. Will your family sometimes be upset when you decline to host the next family get-together because you always have? Maybe. All right, probably. Will your mom be a bit hurt if you tell her that you will get up and leave the next time she hurts you by mentioning that you would be healthier if you lost a little weight? Maybe. Almost certainly. Will your sibling be offended if you tell them that you just don't have the energy to listen to them talk about their problems in their relationship with their spouse today? I'm going to guess yes. But as Mel Robbins puts in her book, The Let Them Theory, we need to let them. Her book says that we need to learn to accept that other adults' emotions are their own responsibility. And instead of feeling guilty when someone is upset by our boundaries, we need to let them deal with their own emotions and move forward with, as she puts it, let me, and make our decisions based on our own needs and values. Whew, okay, that was a lot, right? Ready for the next one? This is a big one. Emotional vampires and manipulators. And let's be realistic, unfortunately, some of the people in the previous category also fall into this one too. Emotional vampires, their specialty is sucking the energy, peace, and joy right out of us. They can be easy to spot if you pay attention to your energy, because they're the ones who, after an interaction with them, leave you feeling completely drained. They're the friends who treat you like a therapist. The coworker who constantly complains or gossips behind everyone's back. The parent of one of your kids who talks your head off so you dread when your child asks for a play date. The manager who rarely has anything positive to say to you but is all over the situation if something bad happens. The pattern? They take, but they rarely give. These kinds of people tend to exhibit narcissistic tendencies. And remember, I am not a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a therapist. I am not any sort of ist at all. So I'm not diagnosing narcissism here or talking about the clinical indicators of narcissism. I'm just calling out the behavior patterns that act like a vacuum sucking your energy out through your belly button. These are the people who use your compassion as their crutch, your kindness to manipulate you so they get their needs met, and your emotional response to their behavior to get their dopamine hits. And when you no longer respond in the way they want you to, they'll turn nasty on a dime, often leaving you wondering exactly what you did to deserve the way they're treating you right now, or the way they're talking about you to others. And when it comes to the last two forms of energy leaks, it's important to pay attention to your interactions with these people and ask yourself, what is your return on investment with these people? So here's a few other important energy leaks to be aware of. Negative self-talk. I've talked about this in past episodes. When you talk to someone you care about the way you allow the little voice in your head to talk to you, of course you wouldn't. Pay attention. And when that voice says something negative, start learning to reframe it. I'm so stupid gets reframed as everyone makes mistakes and I can use this as an opportunity to learn. It's time to sass back and tell them where they can shove their negativity about you. Other people's expectations. Are you living the life someone else wanted you to live, or the one that will make you happy? Constantly striving for perfection, which doesn't exist, by the way, to meet other people's unrealistic expectations is a huge energy sucker. Envy. Comparing ourselves or our lives to someone who we feel has things better than us. Unfortunately, I think we all do it, at least from time to time, even when inside we know we have it better than so many others. Stop. When you find yourself doing it, stop that thought and focus on something that you have to be grateful for. Worry is another big one. And worry is not the same as preparing. And worry doesn't actually solve anything. Obsessing over potential problems, especially when we have no control over them, can send us into a spiral and completely exhaust us. take one even small action to identify and maybe step forward from what's worrying you, even if it's just to write down a list. Procrastination is another one. Putting off something that needs to be done or a decision that needs to be made drains us and can create anxiety and even guilt. And there's rarely a perfect decision. So take a deep breath and make a choice, even if that choice is not to do it. Multitasking. There's a wealth of research consistently showing that not only does multitasking not work and is highly inefficient, but it can actually negatively impact cognitive function. It's mentally draining and extremely stressful, and it results in more errors and less attention to detail. And I have to tell you, it's one of the pet peeves in my day job because multitasking is a daily expectation without the recognition of the loss of productivity that it results in. Lack of work-life balance. Too much work and no play doesn't just make Jack a dull boy. It depletes our energy and it doesn't allow us the time we need to recharge. It's the fast track to exhaustion and burnout. A big one is getting upset about things that really don't matter. Traffic, holding grudges. How often throughout your day do you allow yourself to get upset about something that you have zero control over? Like getting stuck in traffic, being behind the coupon clipper at the checkout, sitting in a meeting that's gone on way too long discussing minutiae that doesn't matter and is going absolutely nowhere, but you can't leave. We've all been there. How many hours of your life have you wasted holding a grudge about something that's truly irrelevant? Does the issue really matter right now? Will it matter in 6 months? Will it matter in 6 years? Let it go. I don't care if you have to meditate, journal it out, spin cartwheels on your front lawn naked to release it, but let it go. Holding a grudge is like drinking poison and expecting it to make someone else sick. The only one it's really damaging is you. Okay, pause, breathe. Wiggle your shoulders, because now we're going to start plugging those leaks. Start by auditing your energy. Learn to recognize what drains your energy and what leaves you feeling drained and exhausted. Whether that's your digital diet, toxic people, envy, worry, guilt, negative self-talk, take steps to avoid it or at the very least minimize it. Sometimes that's pretty straightforward, like reducing your time scrolling. If that's hard for you, try giving yourself a social media allowance per day, setting a timer for the amount of time that you'll allot to yourself, and closing the app when your time's up. Some of the leaks, they're going to need a little bit more work to plug and a lot of self-compassion. That might mean gently cutting the cord with people who drain your energy. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to ghost people, which is particularly difficult for family and is actually a pretty toxic behavior in and of itself. But you do need to stop letting other people have rent-free space in your head. It's okay to say, I don't have the bandwidth to hold space for this right now. It might mean creating boundaries and sticking to them. And if you need help with creating boundaries, listen to last week's episode on boundaries without guilt. These might be physical boundaries where you stay away from certain people, or it could be emotional boundaries. It's perfectly acceptable to tell people that you aren't available for something right now, whether that's to do something, to listen to someone, or to participate in something. No is a complete sentence. Sometimes, unfortunately, the leaks just aren't avoidable. Your manager or coworker, you can't entirely avoid them without leaving your job. A parent, sibling, or other family member, sometimes the best you can do is to reduce the amount of time you spend with them. So here's where the second part comes in. Now it's time to identify what fills your tank, or find something that does. That could be meaningful hobbies or activities that give you pleasure. What makes you truly happy while you're doing it? Do more of it. and do it often. Mindfulness practices, breath work, meditation, journaling, prayer. If you want some help around some super simple mindfulness practices that easily will fit into your day without adding just one more thing to it, go back and listen to episode 7. Time in nature. Huge positive energy source, and science supports this. Even just a few minutes out in nature increases your serotonin levels, which is one of your feel-good neurotransmitters. Learning to build something like what I call my bubble. And this is a visualization practice. So it can take some time to develop, but it is so worth it. When I know I'm going to be around energy vampires or situations that I'm going to find draining, I literally imagine a translucent bubble around myself. I can see and hear everything outside my bubble, but I imagine that it's made of a clear, rubbery substance that negativity bounces right off of. Might seem cheesy or woo-woo to some people, but I'm telling you, for me, it works. So if you have a notebook or paper handy, today I'm going to encourage you to begin reflecting on where your energy leaks might be. Make it kind. Ask yourself these kinds of questions. Who am I interacting with, or what am I doing right now that's costing me more than it gives me? What's one small shift I can make this week to begin plugging some of those leaks? This week we talked about energy leaks and how to begin to plug them. You didn't lose your energy all at once. You're leaking it drop by drop to all of the little moments when you convinced yourself their need is more important than mine. This is fine. I'll just push through. I can't say no or they'll be upset. So as we wrap up, here's what I want you to know. Every time you say, I don't have capacity for that right now. Every time you put your phone down instead of doom scrolling, every time you honor what your body is telling you, you take a little bit of your power back. And that's healing. Thank you so much for being here with me today. This work isn't always easy, but it is powerful, and you are worth the effort it takes to reclaim your energy. If this episode gave you a little clarity or helped you feel a little less alone, please share it with someone or leave a review. It really does help the show grow. Your support helps me keep creating free tools and honest conversations, because no matter how much you love what you're doing, sometimes it takes a whole lot of metaphorical duct tape to hold it all together. If you'd like to toss a little love into the duct tape fund, you can support the podcast at buymeacoffee.com. Link will be in the show notes. And hey, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and tap the little bell icon on your favorite platform so you never miss an episode. Next week, I'm going to be exploring what is loss, because loss isn't limited to when someone passes away. We experience many kinds of loss in life. Each of them deserves to be honored and grieved if necessary. Until then, this is Johanna reminding you that it doesn't matter if you fall. What matters is how well you bounce. This is Transformative Journeys. See you next time. Hey, just a disclaimer. This podcast is for entertainment and informational purposes only and should not replace the advice of a medical or mental health expert. I'm not a licensed counselor or therapist, just a human with a mic and a story of growth and resilience. No degree, no fancy letters after my name. I'm a full-time student at the School of Hard Knocks, University of Life, where I figure I'll probably graduate when I take my last breath. In other words, I'm just Johanna, a fellow human being on my journey through this thing called life, and your guide on this transformative journey.